you said the 5 years to write it, but there's also the prep of thinking about it beforehand and making the decision. And to keep the vulnerable parts in. I love what you're saying in my mind, because I think a lot about mission statements and values. And, what am I trying to convey? Why am I doing this? What is my motivator for this?
Yes.
And so what I'm hearing you say is that for you, one of the motivators was, I want to be of help and service to others.
Yes.
And so to keep those vulnerable parts in there, because that's what a lot of people need to hear, want to hear, to feel like maybe they're not so alone. What are some other parts that you would like for folks to take away from your book?
The hope.
Tell us about that.
The hope of recovery, but not just recovery, like freedom. Just the hope of we can have freedom. I never, 21 years ago today, guys, May 18th, May 19th is my anniversary. I was sitting in a Miami detoxing from heroin and Oxycontin. And to think that I would even be sitting in somewhere like this today, speaking to you guys on a podcast, and then speaking to an audience about female sex and love addiction was so far removed from that is just, so the hope and then the freedom that it is, you can literally do anything, the sky's the limit.
For a lot of people, I think, and especially for when it's difficult for men and women both, I think, to say, oh, how can a woman be addicted to sex?
Mm-hmm.
That I think that's an idea that a lot of people are very confused about.
Mm-hmm.
And we sometimes talk about, women aren't really addicted to sex, but addicted to sex and love.
Mm-hmm.
Do you talk about the being addicted to love in the book?
Mm-hmm. I sure do. I speak about that in the book because exactly, it's not a very clear-cut definition, right? And I will have to say, I think for every one of us women, it looks different. It can, but yes, there are myths that we are just like nymphomaniacs, and while that may be true for some, that's not true for, I feel like, the majority of us. For me, it started when I was a young teenager. I was desperate. I was a lost child in my family, and I was desperate to be seen and looked at and valued. Looking back on it, I see that my parents did value me, but that's with a lot of healing. Yeah, I did not feel, and I have to honor that piece of my little girl, that didn't feel like she was ever seen. And so, buddy, when that first boy looked at me and thought I was cute and wanted to talk to me, that was everything to me. That was everything. And he had so much power over me. When I lost my virginity to him, or not to him, but when I lost my virginity, and then I lost my virginity so that I would be experienced for this guy that I had on this pedestal and that I loved so much. And so I learned about sex with him. He was 3 years older. We had sex 3 and 4 times a day. We had different kinds of sex. So I learned how to please a man. He taught me how to please a man. And to me, growing up how I grew up, I thought that pleasing a man was love. As long as I please him, he loves me. And so that's how it was tied in for me. The sex was equaled love, right? For me. The more sex I can have with him, the more he'll love me and want to be with me. If I can get dirty and nasty and, then the more he'll want to be with me and not want to go out and cheat on me because I'm doing the things that the girl cheated on, Those kinds of absolute, just kind of betrayals, but then the trauma and how how I made it in my head to work
Mhm.
and then started using it to manipulate men. I mean, in my own immaturity, I think it was, you know, a lot of developmental stuff, right, was going on there. I didn't develop quite the same as a girl who loses her virginity in a more traditional way or whatever. So I looked at sex as a way to gain love.